Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Music Crew Virtual Conference 2024. I'm so excited that you're joining us for the sessions today. I'm Beth from Beth's Music Classroom. You can find the handout for this session in my TPT store. The link is in the video description below. You can find me on TPT, website, or email me if you have any questions about this session. My session is called Children's Literature plus Orff Activities. Unlock musical fun for all ages. Anybody else have a whole bunch of children's books that they've been collecting for years? Yeah, that's me. And I thought this would be a great topic because over the years I've thought to myself, what am I going to do with all of those books? I know they're beneficial to use in the classroom. Some of the benefits: kids love story time, and I know my students focus and listen so much better when I'm reading a book to them. Children's books inspire imagination and creativity, taking students to a farm, back in history, to space, anywhere they want to go in the story with just a little bit of imagination. It also incorporates other subjects like ELA, social studies, even math and art, and it encourages critical thinking and SEL. Well, let's look at some different types of books as just to get your minds thinking. We have fairy tales, folk tales, fables, and even folk songs. Early readers with very simple sentences, but these are great for K-1. You could even use poems or rhyming books. Pictures only are great for older students. Cumulative or sequential stories, sound effect words like bang or crash, and also movement or action words are great. Also be thinking about musical elements, music theory that you can teach from books, dynamics, tempo, instruments, beat, no beat. They won't specifically be called that, but think about how you can use them to teach music theory. So where do we find these books? Well, library book sales. I love getting books at library book sales. Used bookstores are great too. Two of my favorite online stores are abebooks.com and thriftbooks.com. And if you can't find anything there, check your local library or school library and you can borrow. Things to consider: check the length. You don't want something too long or too difficult. You want students to be able to relate to it, and it maybe teaches a moral. It doesn't have to do some of these. I love having imaginative, vivid pictures. Maybe you want it to integrate other subjects. Are you going to have a theme or a season to your lesson that you want to find a book for? And is it a timeless story for all ages? Now, what is the Orff approach anyway? It is an approach rather than a precise method that was developed by Carl Orff and Kate Mann in the 1920s. It's a child-centered way of learning, and it encourages teaching children music on a level that they understand. So experience first, intellectualize about music later. Activities include singing, dancing, acting, chanting, and playing instruments. So how do we combine children's literature and Orff activities? We'll start with some planning. What is your ultimate goal for this book? Are you going to use it as a concert? Are you going to just use it as a class performance? Maybe you're combining two classes with a colleague and put on a little performance for their homeroom teachers. So how much practice time will you have to achieve that goal? Can you use a book with more than one grade or class? And how can you adapt the activities to fit the needs and the knowledge of each class? For example, I will use a rhythm from Music for Children and add a simple So Me melody for my kindergartners, and add So Me La for first grade, and so on. So each grade is only singing the notes that they know, but all of the classes are using the same book and the same rhythm. Here's some of my favorite children's authors that you'll see today. Let's jump into it. Different types of books and examples that we can use with Orff activities. The first example we're looking at today is cumulative books. These types of books have returning characters, animals, or items in them, and often they have a song already with it. There was an old lady who swallowed a fly. That one is a popular melody, as well as had a little rooster, and even Old MacDonald had a wood shop. I love that one, and you can use it with the popular Old MacDonald had a farm. Here's some other books. This is the house that Jack built. We all go traveling by. If you give a mouse a cookie. Cumulative songs are great for singing, adding motions and actions for each of the new animals or people. You can also create a sound story by adding classroom percussion instruments to represent each part. Students can play a steady beat or the specific part in the book when each character or animal is heard. Here's a specific example for the book and the song, We All Go Traveling By. This is one of my students' favorites. I use it at the end of the year when we do a little transportation and vacation unit. Every time the hand drums hear a bright red truck goes rumble, 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 they play that pattern in eighth notes on the drum. Or you could even give students the choice. For example, there was an old lady who swallowed a fly. What should we play on the cow? Ooh, cowbell. I love it. What about on the goat or the dog? Give them choices. Another activity, discuss how cumulative songs relate to real life. For example, weather, snow. Wow, we have 2 inches on the ground. Now we have 4, 8, 12. Yeah, we get a lot of snow, so I use that example a lot, actually. Or you could use an example like getting dressed. You put on layers of clothing, especially in the winter. You put a shirt, a sweater, a jacket, maybe even a heavier coat. Use countdown chains. I've even used countdown chains and we write rhythms on them. And we try to memorize them. That's fun. You can even use an activity, get kids up and moving like a dance. 7 jumps is an adorable little dance from Denmark. And it is a cumulative dance. And we will say the days of the week for each one. So first it's Sunday, and then they start again Sunday, Monday, and they keep adding another move to it. You can use rhythmic building blocks from a story and link them together to create a composition and a cumulative rhythmic story. For example, I did this with Joseph had a little overcoat, and if you give a mouse a cookie. And we'll talk about building blocks in a little bit. Next, we have books with sound effects. This could be natural or manufactured sound. These are so perfect for using in music. You can ask students to match rhythmic instruments to the sound effects heard in the book, or have them create their own way of reproducing it, like found percussion. Use the sound words as building blocks and have them make their own sound composition with the book. Here's a few books with automatopoeia. Goodnight Owl has animal sounds in it. Thump Thump Rat-a-tat-tat is a parade book, and you can also use it with dynamics as the parade is getting farther away, it's getting quiet. Squeak, Rumble, Womp 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 by Wynton Marsalis is another great one. And The Noisy Clock Shop is a little bit longer book, but has some amazing clock sounds in it. Let's transition to books with movement or dance activities. These books are great for our young students who really just need to get up and move. They need a break, so add these in and they'll love them. You could add simple actions or with improv movement around the room. You can add a section of folk dancing in the middle, or even use props like scarves, bean bags, ribbons if you have, or even a parachute, my student's favorite. Here's some tips. Be sure that the movement difficulty corresponds with the book level. So I made this mistake and I prepared this very elaborate, difficult folk dance for a first grade book at the beginning of the year, and it didn't work. It totally failed. I was way too focused on the movement than the book. I used this later with second grade and it worked well. It was too difficult for the book. Don't be afraid to let your students decide what to do. Give them choices. Give clear directions and model the movement when necessary. And designate a word or a phrase that signals the students to begin moving, especially if you're using it for a performance. Make sure they know when to get up and do the folk dance or when to get up and move around with the scarves. Activities for movement books. Here's a few. In groups, students can plan and practice motions and movement to match their page or section. And even use a scarf dance or activity to an instrumental piece as a B section to the book. I did this with Chopin's Minute Waltz, and we just added a little section in the book, and we got up and moved our scarves as if we were cleaning the house and went right back to the book. You can use a scarf or parachute moving it to match the text. For example, up, down, wiggle, shake, and pop. I just recently did this with a book, Popcorn, and I'm sure you can imagine what we did with the parachute. Here's some movement books that I've used in the past. I know there's a lot more. Barn Dance has a folk dance right in it. Penguin Cha-Cha is great. It has some repeated patterns over and over. Let's go back to the building blocks or the building bricks that I mentioned earlier. They are from Kate Mann's book, Elementaria. These bricks are 2-beat rhythmic patterns containing only quarter notes, eighth notes, or quarter rest. They help students start with the simple, and then they use the blocks to create more complex rhythms. These blocks contain rhythms of 1, 2, 3, or 4 sounds. Students brainstorm words or phrases that fit into each one, and if you want to, you can even adapt the rhythms to fit what you would like to. You can take the last one off with the quarter rest. This is helping students make sense of rhythm. Some activities you can use building blocks for. Work in groups. Have students work in groups to put together 4 or 8 blocks, and they're writing mini compositions. Then perform the book and the song as the A section, and have each new group perform their composition as a B, C in a rondo form. You can use building blocks for simple beginner or even more advanced lesson activities. Encourage students to use duplicates if they need, and really you can adapt this to any theme, any book idea that you would like, even if you have a holiday lesson, space, pirates, candy, whatever you would like. Now let's look at some specific examples of children's books with Orff music activities. First, we have Fruit Salad by Jepson Gibbs. This is great for K and 1 students because it's just a really simple, short book, and you can use building blocks with it to practice rhythm. So here's an example of what I do. First, I read the book, which is a very short, each phrase is, we have apples, we have oranges, we have bananas. So I'll ask my students, how can we move for each of those? How can we move for berries or melons or grapes? And I'll give them time to try it out in their own space. Whoa, how can we move for fruit salad? The whole thing. What can we play for apples? And a lot of my students will say the apple shakers or banana shakers. Well, what if we were playing a xylophone? How can we play for berries, melons, grapes, fruit salad? So I'll take different ideas from students and then we'll add some body percussion to it. And I will create a little rondo where students are creating their own rhythmic patterns, and they can work in groups using building blocks to write their own little pattern. So here's an example: watermelon, watermelon, apples, grapes. I really love watermelon, so I use 2 watermelons. That's okay. I don't like bananas. I didn't use any bananas. That's okay too. It tells you a little bit about their interests. Now let's take each pattern and add some body percussion to it. So on the watermelon, make sure you pat your legs. And after each group is ready, or each student, you can decide. You can have them add the body percussion or the rhythmic sticks. Read the book, or even sing it on So Me. Then use a rondo, giving each student a turn. So this is just an example for fruit salad. And here's the list, the teaching process of all the activities that I've done with fruit salad. I want to dive into another tasty book. Sorry if you haven't had lunch. This one is called Ice Cream Everywhere by Marjorie Blaine Parker. The beginning has the familiar chant, ice cream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream. And you can use this with multiple grade levels. It goes on, it's a little bit longer than fruit salad, but you can use it with different building blocks activities as well. So let's take a peek. First, I'll read it, and then I teach students this little chant. It's based from the book. Ice cream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream. In a cone, in a cup, just alone or all fixed up. So it has this ABA pattern. First, let's move. If you had an ice cream cone that was 6 scoops high, how would you move? Carefully, for sure. And I will let students explore the different lines in the book and how they would move. What would it look like? How would they play? What if you had ice cream in your hair? Oh no! What should we put in our own ice cream composition? You can do something like this on your smartboard if you have one, or print out little flashcards for students to add them into their own page. You can have them work it on their own or as a group. And you can use iconic notation or rhythmic notation. It's up to you. Here's an example. Chocolate, chocolate, strawberry mint. Vanilla, cotton candy, vanilla mint. Ooh, nice. Can we add some body percussion? If you chose mint, can you snap? Chocolate, stomp your feet. And students would practice it, and then we would add it to the chant. You can have them add their own as a B section. You can even have them add this specific one with it. This is a little bit older activity for students, maybe in 1st or 2nd, even 3rd grade. They are performing the body percussion at the same time as chanting. That could be difficult. Time to take your ice cream rhythm to the xylophone. Maybe those little chants that they did 8-beat or 16-beat rhythmic building blocks now become a pentatonic melody. There's so many different activities you can do with one book, from K up to 6th grade even. Here's the list of activities and the teaching process that I use with Ice Cream Everywhere. Now onto our last book, Emma's Vacation by David McPhail. This has a bunch of different activities for multiple grade levels, and it's perfect for the end of the school year as it's talking about vacation. As you can see from the picture here, it is about a story about bears, and it is a small little book that I just discovered last year, and I love it. Let's take a look. So I made a presentation so that I could read each page to my class, and because it's so small, I wanted them to read along. First, I'll read the book. Emma and her mother and father were going on vacation. It was such a long ride. Getting lost made the ride even longer. Well, to sum it up, the roof leaked. She wanted to climb the mountain, but her father drove instead. They went to a carnival. The next day, she wouldn't budge. She wanted to wade in the brook and go pick some berries. And she wanted to do all these things with her family, and she got to. Emma was having a wonderful vacation. So I will ask my students, what did you think about the book, Emma's Vacation? And we'll discuss each of the activities. And then we will start moving with my youngest students, especially. How would you act if you were so bored in the car? What if it was raining and your cabin was leaking? Oh no! Oh boy, how would you move if you were at the carnival? How many of you like carnival rides? Oh boy. What if you were pretending not to budge? And I'll go through each of the activities in the book and we will practice moving. Well, now let's learn a way that we can add some sounds to this story. I will give, especially my second graders, I love this with second grade, we'll use some sound effects. Can you go drip, drop on your xylophone? So I'll read the story and add these sound effects. They went on a boat, a bus, a train, and a rocket ship. Whoa, the rides went all over. I'll let students play any notes on their pentatonic xylophone setup. Well, going back and forth. And each of these activities, I will ask my students what rhythmic instrument we can practice with. We'll add that to the end. Also, I will teach a song that has a pentatonic melody, and we will use this throughout the book. Adding some body percussion to learn the bourdon and different rhythmic instruments as well. Adding these little parts as movement first. We're on vacation, sun up high in the sky. And there's so many things you could do with the song. I wish I had more time to go through each one. But give students choices. These are some things that my students decided. Go fishing. They thought the rhythmic sticks should play that, the rhythm sticks, because they look like a fishing rod. You let your students decide. Riding the Ferris wheel. Well, look at that Ferris wheel. The tambourine looks just like it, my students told me. So we did that. And you put it all together and have them play during the story. You can also add the melodic parts if you would like. My students had a lot of fun with this. Well, here's the list of the activities. There are so many. With my KN1 students, I may only have them add the bourdon to this song and the rhythmic instruments to each of the activities that Emma and her family did. With second and third grade, I would have them add all of the xylophone parts. So it's totally up to you. Thank you so much for listening to my session, and I really hope that you are able to use some of these ideas in your own lessons in your classroom. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the post in the Music Crew Collaborative group. Also, I'd love to connect with you. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, email me, or on TPT at Beth's Music Classroom. If you haven't already, be sure to get the handout from my TPT store. My TPT store will be on sale 20% off July 18th to the 21st. Plus, find the Music Crew virtual exhibit hall. There's lots of great ideas there. You can sort different topics and get ready for fall or any time of the year. Be sure to stay tuned for Sally's Sea of Songs presentation, which is right after this. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of the conference.